Hello, everyone. So we're gonna wait a little bit to see if Mario and Laura Regus join us. I think maybe giving one more minute is good. What do you think, Nicole?
I think it's okay. He was joining earlier today, so I think it might be a matter of connection. Hi, everyone.
Yes, and feel free to, if you have any questions, type them on the chat. I'll be looking as we're going and ask our speakers. So we'll be able to do that. Perfect. Hello, Laura. How are you?
Oh, there's Mario.
Yes, we are officially here. So I think we can get started. Hello, Mario. Oh.
I think he's having some technical difficulties at the moment.
Yeah, we still have a little bit of time.
Hello, everyone. Why don't we start with introductions while I try and onboard Mario? So would love to hear a little bit about every single one of you and just like what it is that you're trying to bring to this conversation today.
So welcome. Thank you so much, Laura, for that. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. Thank you, Carlos, for the opportunity of being a moderator, as well as to our previous speakers, Jose Miguel Longo and Jorge Flores. I hope everyone had a nice break because we are coming back with more. My name is Anissa Martinez, and I'm part of the Student Affairs Committee as Design Strategy Chair. For today's session, Benefits of Joining a Board, we welcome Nicole Gonzalez, Mario Rivera, and Laura Regus Alvarez. Now, you often hear professionals becoming part of the board of directors, but why would someone give their free time in an already limited workday? There are many reasons why professionals join boards, and today we will have a better understanding of why people do it and what are some of the benefits. I would like to introduce our amazing speakers for this session. Nicole Gonzalez is a senior at Boston University Questrom School of Business, studying finance, strategy, and global business. She has completed internships in corporate finance and investment banking in the Dominican Republic and Egypt. Nicole will begin her internship at BlackRock in the finance group in the summer of 2021. So pretty much in maybe like a month. In the future, Nicole is aspiring to work in asset management in New York. We also welcome Mario Rivera. Mario Rivera has been with UBS since 2010 and is currently in the role of branch manager in Denver, Colorado. He supports 15 financial advisors that serve high net worth families all across the country. Prior to this role, Mario served as an assistant market head for UBS in Boston. He holds his 766, 9, and 10 licenses, as well as his certified private wealth advisor designation. Last but not least, Laura Regus Alvarez. She's a graduate of Merrimack College in North Andover, Massachusetts, and Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts, with degrees in business administration, Spanish, and Master of Business Administration. Her most recent role at Liberty Mutual is Experience Recognition Consultant, where her responsibilities include creating recognition experiences that celebrate employees' career level achievements and designing a workplace culture that enables employees to do their best work while meeting the needs of our customers. Now, let's begin by opening up the conversation with how did you find about Alpha and why did you decide to join a community organization? I think we can start with you, Nicole. What are your thoughts?
Sure. So for Alpha, I first found out about it because of my brother. He was the founder of Alpha Loyola Chicago, the student chapter over there, when he was in his undergrad. And so I always heard about him creating the chapter and really growing the community in Loyola Chicago. And I personally chose to join Alpha here at BU because not only has my brother told me great things about it, but they were just starting up, so it was a new chapter as well, and I saw all the potential benefits that as a student and as a freshman at the time, I could gain just learning from upperclassmen and professionals.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that with us. Mario, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, hi Nisa, hi everyone, and it's great to be here with you and Nicole. So I hope everyone's doing well. So I got first introduced to Alpha through work. I was interning at New York Life in New York City, and the person I was reporting to, he was also Latino, and he said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Alpha?" I said, "No." He said, "Come with me to this event." So I went to this event, and I was really blown away. It was all Latinos, just dressed up, clearly coming from work, and they looked like they were just oozing success. So I was really excited to be around that really for the first time as I went to college or was interning at this place. There wasn't many Latino role models like that. So it was really interesting to be surrounded by that. And so I took that away, and I learned that there were student chapters available because that was the Alpha New York chapter. And I started a chapter at Cornell University and have been a part in many different chapters since. So that's how I was introduced to Alpha.
Thank you for that, Mario. I think like what you had mentioned, that sense of belonging, even like when I came here, I was like, I feel like there are more Latinos here, but where are they, you know? So thank you for sharing that. And going back to Laura, how did you find about Alpha, Laura, and why did you decide to join a community organization?
Yeah, so I had actually found out through Alpha through one of my previous employers, and I had attended a couple of events. And now that I'm at Liberty Mutual, we're still sponsoring Alpha, and I started being a member of the ERG and just attending more events as well. And through my connections with the ERG and through the events, meeting everyone in the committees, I decided to join the board.
That's amazing. And we have a specific question for you, Nicole. What are the top 3 takeaways from having joined a board?
Top 3 takeaways, I think, I've been involved with Alpha, I think, Alpha BU since my freshman year. Now I'm a rising senior, which is kind of crazy to say. But for me, would be trust your gut. Even though there's a difficult decision, sometimes you just have to trust that you're going to make the right decision for you and your team, as well as empower your team to just do better, especially now through what we've been through as students, going through Zoom, being hybrid, trying to grow our club simultaneously. It's all a lot to manage, but empower your team always to do better. And finally, making mistakes is part of the process. A lot of the times we think, oh, we always have to make the right decision. But at the end of the day, we're all just learning and we're trying to do our best. And making mistakes is honestly one of the best ways that you can actually learn. So those would be my 3 takeaways.
Are you excited, Nicole, for everyone to go in the fall, finally in person?
Beyond excited. I miss it so much. We're just planning. I was planning with my team for the fall, and we want to make like even a Zumbathon as a fundraiser, and we just want that to be in person, just have everyone there and be so happy and just be together, because it's one thing to be a community online, but it's another thing to just be a community in person.
I think like what you said at some point, the difference between still being a community, but over Zoom, it's way different than just like being with everyone in person and having that human contact is it's so much meaningful. So thank you for sharing that. Mario, can joining a board make you stand out when applying for a job? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. I know I review a lot of resumes, and I'm always looking for what type of leadership roles did this candidate have that would demonstrate the ability to really be a great contributor to our organization. So I'll see Nicole's resume, for instance. I'll see President of Alpha. Not only will I think, oh, that's excellent because I love Alpha, but I'll want to know more, right? And that'll open the conversation. Nicole, what did you guys do when you were president of Alpha? What did you accomplish? And that allows you a bridge to just talk about the things that you've accomplished in a really strong manner. And it's the opposite position where if I look at someone who hasn't had a leadership position, now I got to go from why don't they, right? It's much stronger to really point out, hey, this person was president, this person was social chair, this person was marketing. What skills did you learn? Tell me about that. What did you accomplish? And I think that goes a long way on your resume. And it definitely helped me, founder of an Alpha chapter, president of the Alpha chapter. What did you guys accomplish? And it's something I become passionate about too. So when they ask you about it, you can really talk with that passion and sets you apart from other candidates that maybe don't have that type of experience.
I think, Mario, that having that passion makes you stand out, giving back to the community. Why did you join? I think like all of those characteristics are like what makes a candidate stand out as well. Thank you for sharing that. And Laura, what are some of the skills you can learn while joining a board?
Well, I think like when you join a board, like you have to, the way to succeed is like whatever you put in it. Some of the skills that I have personally gained as being part of the board is like project planning. I had the Women of Alpha committee, and just thinking about like the programming that we put together, you definitely need strong project management skills. And also just like in terms of the event planning, like I had prior to joining the board, I had some limited experience, and now I'm in a position in my job where I'm like, Zoom, you need to know how to do this, this, and that. Like I got it covered. So I have been able to flex that skill now in my current role, but also you learn about people skills because you're working with so many different people, your other board members, your panelists that you're trying to get, and just trying to get people to help you out because this is a nonprofit. So we want people to help us out kind of like for free. So you have to get those networking skills and people skills, like, and you don't really have, I didn't have many opportunities to practice that outside of Alpha. And now I'm able to practice that skill on a monthly basis.
That's great. And I think also I've been looking into even job descriptions and project management. It's always there, knowing how to identify what's urgent and what's important and trying to prioritize everything. I think like that's a skill that you even learn as you're working. So thank you for sharing with me, Laura. Nicole, back to you. As a student, tell me about a rewarding experience that you have experienced as a student board member.
Sure, this is actually something that happened this semester. In Alpha, we had a very similar session as the previous one, focusing on building generational wealth. And in Zoom, it's always a struggle, especially for students, to log on for club events just because we're in classes the whole time. We're looking at our computers and getting engaged after classes. It's very difficult. However, this one event, we collaborated with 5 clubs on campus, and we had a turnout of about 60 people, which might not seem a lot to many people, but for a small club, being on Zoom, it was extremely rewarding because not only were there a lot of people, it was very engaging, not only for the speakers, but for the students. And we really wanted to focus on financial literacy and understanding for students early on that it's an extremely important skill to manage not only your budget, but manage what you would like to invest in or what your plan could be in the future after graduation. And having that session be this semester despite Zoom, despite technical difficulties, and having great speakers and great engagement from our club members was really rewarding.
How are you planning all of these activities, Nicole, now that you're maybe going back in the fall? Have you thought about how you are going to plan these activities yet, or like maybe join with each and everyone in campus? Have you thought about those things?
Yeah, we actually haven't created our total fall plan yet, but essentially what we're thinking is having in-person events either in classrooms at the business school or renting out different areas on campus so we can host as many people as possible in the safest way as possible. And we do hope to have more speakers as well through the Zoom function, but having members in person. That way we're not limited to the Boston area the way we used to be. So we can have someone, say, from Mexico or someone in California, and they can still engage with our club members while having the same community in person by being in the same classroom.
That is amazing. If I have the opportunity, I can join as well.
Definitely.
I'd be so happy to kind of like go back. So thank you for sharing that, Nicole. And going back to you, Mario, why did you decide to continue doing community work after graduation, and how has this experience impacted your life?
Yeah, sure. So I went back to work at UBS in New Jersey. And then after a couple of months, I heard about an Alpha event nearby, and I just said, hey, it's across the street, I should go. So I went there, met some folks, and just back to the normal enjoyment of Alpha. It was other Latino professionals that I enjoyed being around. So it gave me something to do. It gave me an opportunity to give back. And that was really important to me. And I felt like, you know what, this really is the place I want to do it because it's fun. I like the people that are involved in it, and we're all working towards a common mission. And it's a way I can really leverage where I am to give back to other people, open doors for people that want to be in finance, that want to be in this industry, that want to provide for their family in a really great way. So after attending a couple events, I decided I'm going to be on the board because it's a great way to give back, but also to network, because that was a piece to it that I felt was important. Networking with other people that were like-minded, that had careers, were successful, and other more senior people that were highlighted through Alpha that I found really interesting and inspiring. So it was to be really in that ecosystem as on top of giving back in the way that I really enjoyed. From there, it's really impacted my life in a great way, because after that Alpha event, I also started going to Alpha New York events because they're really close, and just was getting to know a lot of great people through the Alpha network. Then I moved to Boston in 2015, and I didn't know anyone in Boston. So it was really difficult kind of the first 6 to 12 months to just establish myself, even like a social life or anything. So then once I returned and realized, hey, there's this big Alpha event organization or chapter, I should get involved. And it just clicked. It felt like the Alpha Amelia again. It felt like this is where I'm supposed to be, and a great way for me to network, give back, and get to know people. And so it was a great way to come into a new city and get to meet really incredible people. And then just giving back that passion. Not only do you have a way to give back or network really, but you're able to build a reputation, which is different than networking. Because networking, you can go to a million events and meet a lot of people, but building a reputation you can do through your volunteerism. You can do that by people thinking like, oh, wow, this is a great person to work with. Oh, wow, this person really is a visionary, right, in their role. This person has really great skills in this area. And that gets out there. And then as you work your way up, as I did, into the president role, you can really be in a position where you can give back. You can see a lot. You can get to know the city. You can get to know a lot of the other people in the community. And that has its amazing benefits and the opportunity to do a lot more, which was open the right doors, because now you know different companies. Now you know different people that are power players and connect the right people. So it really impacted my life in Boston, and I was there for 5 years and felt like I got to see a lot. I got to do a lot. I got to get to know a lot of people in that short time. And now I'm here in Denver, and there's a small chapter starting up. So now I get to reach out to those folks and share with them what I learned from being in Alpha Boston and what to think about here, and help them kind of grow the chapter while also just networking a little bit through that. So Alpha's been a big part everywhere I go of kind of how I get involved in the community, and where I can just spend my time in a way that's really enjoyable to me on top of the work that I'm volunteering for. So Alpha has all along, really since I went to that first event, Alpha has been a part of my life, which my family can attest to because they've had to get involved as well and be part of all that. So yeah, Alpha will be around as long as, well, I'll be around as long as Alpha's around and all that. So yeah.
Thank you for walking us through that beautiful story, Mario. What advice, I think, like with what you had said, what advice would you give students that are maybe now coming to Boston or to the US? How can they find what Alpha is, and then how can they join Alpha?
As students?
Yes.
Gotcha. So I would just look up your local student chapter. I would reach out to Nicole and tell me about Alpha, and she maybe can get you to the right person who can tell you if there's a chapter at your school. But I would definitely encourage you to do that because it is really a great community. There is a reason why there's this term Alphamilia, right? Just because everyone's rooting for each other, everyone's trying to see each other succeed, and our networking events just feel more family oriented than kind of nerve-wracking, which other networking events can really feel like. So I say about 50% of the people when you go to Alpha events, you've seen them before and it's a great time. 50% of the people are completely brand new, and it's a great mix, and it all comes together for those Alpha events. So yeah, I would definitely say just get to find the closest Alpha chapter. If there's not one near your school, grab together 3 or 4 people, start the Alpha chapter, and see what you guys can accomplish, because I'm sure it'll have benefits at your school.
That's exciting. Thank you for sharing with us. And last but not least, Laura, why should employees join Employee Resources Group, and what are some valuable experiences for you?
Yeah, I feel like employee resource groups, and ERGs for short, it's pretty much how I really got involved into Alpha. I think a couple of different ways to look at it for me as a person of color in corporate America, just like finding that community, like really just helped me out because I'm an immigrant, and just like finding people who have gone through the same experiences that I have had, like things that I couldn't have gotten like from my family that has never experienced that before. Finding that network that I could rely on at work really helped. But then looking at it as well from a growth perspective, similar to the opportunities that I've had at Alpha, I also did event planning and just like program management and networking skills. Like those are things that I was able to get through my work in my jobs ERG, which has been like, it really changed my life just because it also like pushed me like the Alpha way, which is like really made an impact in my life and what I'm doing now. So I think in terms of like what you get from either joining an ERG or a nonprofit is really what you put into. So whatever you want to get out of it, like you can get out of it, but you have to do the work. It's not just gonna come your way. So you have to work for it. I think the most valuable experience probably was attending my first Alpha convention in Vegas. I had never been to Vegas. My first experience was in the Alpha convention. And just like the amount of people that you get to meet, and the workshops that were available, and just like after the workshop, like the Alphamilia after dark, I guess, that was like the best experience for me.
And when was that, Laura? I wanted to take us into that experience.
Oh, geez. It was 4 years ago, my first convention.
Okay.
I think it was in Vegas, and then I got to go to Nashville as well, which was also a lot of fun. So I'm a big proponent of the Alpha Convention if you have the ability to go. Just you get so much out of it professionally, personally. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing with us. And I'm going to go into the chat and see, because I feel like there's some questions from Jordan. Struggle you ran into as a student chapter. So I think this one is for you, maybe, Nicole.
Sure. So the struggle for particularly BU has been changing the e-boards a lot. We had a lot of people who went abroad and a lot of people who had to drop out because of academics. And so with a changing e-board, the issue is just maintaining that cohesiveness and that growth into a steady pattern. However, the way that we were able to solve this was through a mini internship, we called it, where we onboarded underclassmen the semester prior to them becoming a proper officer. And that way we were able to teach them on the job at a very low risk, low pressure environment. And so they could really learn what the Alpha way is, while also getting those skills that you can gain from an e-board and joining a board, essentially. So we were able to maintain that cohesiveness, and next semester we're going to have fully onboarded officers with on-the-job training prior to joining as full-on officers.
Thank you, Nicole. Any additional thoughts, Mario and Laura, that you want to share?
I think Nicole's got the best advice on the student chapter. That was 10 years ago for me.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mario. And there's another question on the chat. It's knowing Latinos are a super diverse new raza cosmica. How do we focus the student chapter vision to leverage the campus climate activities so to address corporate pro issues in order to advance our mission to empower and give a hand up via Alpha Familia?
I'm guessing that's also for me, given that student chapters. So I think as to what you're getting at is how to properly empower the Latin community on your campus while also taking in very important issues that a lot of the Latinx community, Latina community are undergoing. So the first important thing that I think my chapter particularly has undergone is reflecting what events that we want to create and what events that we want to target for our community in the semester. And so we essentially plan out, as we mentioned, the building financial literacy and building generational wealth. So that we know that that's an extremely important comment that we heard from previous members, and we wanted to address it. Another one, I see you commented gender and race. So another one that we have to take into account is that we have, I see more comments, spirituality, culture. Okay. And then another one is just also building that social community and addressing that in also a lower setting and lower risk environment. And particularly towards spirituality and heritage, we have events that focus on our heritage, such as our collaborations with MBA organizations, that's LAMBA, the Latin American MBA Association, in our business school. That way we can essentially incorporate spirituality, heritage, our actual community, and what our community stands for, while also collaborating at the same time. So I hope that addresses your question.
Thank you for that, Nicole. And we have another question here that I would like to open for everyone. How do you manage your schedule? You know, having a job, a family, your social life, taking classes, living in a pandemic. How do you handle all of those things together?
Yeah, I can jump on that one first. So it's definitely challenging. It's late nights, right? You have a job, and then depending on where your position is or where you volunteered on the board, can have different demands during different times of the day. So sometimes it's logging in at night and answering those emails that you had to get. So many times over the weekend, right? So just taking up your own free time that you would normally maybe be watching a show or just playing on your phone, whatever it may be, you're dedicating towards the organization that you've now committed to, right? And generally the board will give you an idea of how much time you have to volunteer. So if it's 3 hours, 5 hours, 7 hours, right, you can manage that and see what your schedule permits. If you're working 9 to 9 every day, you probably only have a few hours on the weekend that you can really commit. During the week, you have to determine what's feasible for you based on your work schedule. Some jobs you can make your own schedule, which I was able to do more in my last position, and I can set up calls during the day. So that helps me fit in different roles that kind of require that. If you're working with corporate sponsors, for example, they are in the HR group and this is part of their job, and therefore they're trying to work job hours to communicate with you. So you have to set up, even as a volunteer, time during your job to do that. And some people, that's manageable. And for certain times it is manageable. For other times it's not. So managing that. Then there's family. So you got to think about where in life you are with your family. I had one kid and was able to manage it because my wife was able to really help out and step up and take over a big part of that when I had to go to events after work. Now that we have 2 kids, that's much harder. But we had the second kids during the pandemic. So therefore, we haven't really had that issue. But I try to limit the amount of events like this. So this I hold in high regard. That I do after work, because now my wife is with 2 kids right now. That's very tiring until they go to bed. So it's just about managing what you can commit to and not overcommitting where you're burned out. And that's really important. So starting small, I think, and getting a taste for whether that's the type of thing you like, where it's constant commitment, and that's what a board is, or if you prefer, on a Saturday, I'm going to sign up for something. And that's just a different type of volunteering, but you decided that that's what's going to be your commitment, a kind of one-off thing, and you'll pick and choose when and where you want to commit to volunteer. So it's a really customized schedule based on where you are in your career, what it's like within your family, and how you can manage all that. So as a student, it's going to come down to how many credits you're taking, right? What other commitments, organizations do you have? Do you have a job on top of your classwork as well? So you just have to understand what you're getting into and then assess what you can realistically put into your schedule.
Thank you, Mario. Anyone else? Nicole and Laura?
I could pitch in this one a little bit too. As a student, as Mario mentioned, you have to understand your credit load, because at the end of the day, you're here for school and you're here to get exactly like your academics. And so you have to understand that the balance between your extracurriculars and your academics is extremely important. And you can't overcommit, because if you spread yourself too thin, you're going to be giving less than you actually wanted to, and it's not going to help a lot of people. And so by balancing that and understanding that, you can create your calendar, which seems like a very easy thing to do, but to me, it's like my most powerful tool, my calendar, because it keeps you organized. You understand which times is for your studies, which time is for your job, which time is for your clubs and Alpha. And by managing that, you ensure that you can put in as much time as you need for these times, and you don't spread yourself too thin, and you can give your full commitment, and you're able to give as much effort as you want without being overly overwhelmed per se.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Is your calendar on the computer, or are you someone who likes to write everything down and scratch things down as well?
I do both. So I have my computer calendar, which is for my classes and all that, but I have my everyday to-do list on a little notebook that I have every day, and I check off all my tasks. So it's a balance of both.
That's amazing. And I think Laura is maybe coming back. We'll see. But there's also a question on the chat. It says, I'm concerned about institutional investment management and the values expressed symbolically from decisions of the past and present. For example, Georgetown University and Jesuits, or I don't know how you pronounce that, commit 100 mil for role in slavery. How do we interject Alpha into this dialogue?
Yeah, so I can jump in there. Alpha is not right for every conversation, every issue, every topic, and we really got to come back to what's our mission, and are we fulfilling that? And there's a lot in the world that we can try to tackle, and if you try to tackle too much, you can tackle things and do pretty poorly at all of them. But you want to be good at what your mission is. And so you really just have to assess which issues align with the mission and what you're trying to accomplish. Because in effect, that's what everyone's signing up for. They're saying, I agree with this mission. I'm on board for it. And this is what I want to commit to. And then if you're tackling too much or things that are not aligned with the mission, that's not really what people signed up for. And it becomes very challenging to help kind of steer the ship in that sense. So as president of Alpha, I was really focused on, what's our mission? How do we accomplish this? And are there ways in which we can grow from where we are now, but still align with our mission? So it's always just important to assess. So I would look at one of those things in institutional investment management and determine if that's really core to who we are and what we accomplish. And then determine that is that within our ability to even tackle at this point. Yeah, you have to make sure you're just aligning with your mission and what you're trying to tackle. Because again, there are a lot of issues that you could potentially.
Thank you for that, Mario. And there's also a follow-up question, I think. So what type of professionals are we creating if our human resources go to work at companies not aligned with our values?
Yeah, I think, again, is it aligned with our mission to determine where people work? And we just have to figure out that seems more like a personal decision. But we can determine what companies we partner with, and that can be our way of saying, is this a corporate sponsor that we want to partner with? So we can determine it from that, but we can't make personal decisions for people. So, there are just different things we can do around professional development. We can talk about ethics and stuff like that, and that's important. But there's personal responsibility that goes along with some decisions as well that Alpha just can't interject themselves in.
Thank you. Any additional comments, Nicole or Laura, based on these two last questions that we've had?
I think Mario hit it right on the head. I mean, I would agree that down to your personal values and what you believe in is what you have to understand. Alpha as an organization can't control every part of your professional career, and it's a matter of what you decide to believe in and how that reflects in your professional career.
Thank you, Nicole. And Laura, how we were asking earlier, how do you manage your schedule? Having a job, a family, your social life, even practicing self-care as well. How do you handle all of these things?
Yeah, I think it can definitely be sometimes hard and stressful for sure. I think something that I tell myself is, if you want to do it, you'll find a reason. If you don't want to do it, you'll find an excuse. So for me, it's when I got involved with Alpha, I made this commitment because it's something that I was passionate about. If you're committed to something that you're not passionate about, it's going to feel like it's depleting you and you're not going to want to do it. So I would say, as long as you are doing things that are being beneficial for you and it's something that you're passionate about and you want to do, you'll make it work. I think finding that balance and making sure that you are establishing boundaries, making sure that you say, okay, from this time to this time, I'm doing my self-care. You have to make sure that you establish those boundaries, because it can get blurry. You can start getting messages late at night, and just like understanding and letting people know where those boundaries are for you, or just like with any relationship, like you just have to make sure people know and that you let them know what those things are. It can certainly sometimes feel a little bit stressful depending on what the things that you're working on. Sometimes work can be more demanding, and just making sure that you know what your priorities are. Especially like for me, if work is a little bit more busy than usual, I can rely on my assistant director and I let them know where I stand, so they can take over. It's when you're like volunteering, you're volunteering. So if you don't have capacity for it, you just have to be upfront about it and make sure that everyone is aware, so that if you have something going on, you're not dropping the ball on it completely. But you want to make sure you establish those boundaries to make sure that you are not just pouring from an empty cup, pretty much.
Thank you, Laura. And I almost want to quote you on that beautiful quote that you said of the excuse. I feel like I want a T-shirt with that quote because it's so on point. You know, like when there's a will, there's a way. So we got to make it happen. There's always a way to make it happen. And going back to the chat, we have a follow-up question, I think. So what are our options? Do we have a choice? Can we turn down sponsorship, solicitations from companies we can't align with? Freedom of academic truth and press is key to our democracy and republic, which hinges on the First Amendment, freedom of association. And another question, are you not concerned that Alpha could become an arm or a part of the apparatus of corporate America because of funding?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we want to stick to the theme of the panel, but we appreciate the questions coming in.
Yes, I agree with Mario and Carlos as well. Let's go back to a different question. So if you're not ready to join a leadership, to join the leadership of a job, where else can you start?
I'll start. I think you initially think that you can just join in a leadership position, but you can also join as a committee member as part of one of the many committees that we have, especially in Alpha Boston. If anyone's interested in the Women of Alpha Committee, we're always looking for members. But I'm very upfront when people express interest in joining, and I let them know, again, like boundaries, like what can you commit to? Because I feel like you just need to be upfront. If you just want to learn, is it something that I'm interested in doing? You can get a little taste of it by being a committee member and saying, I can give you 2 hours a week. I can give you this amount of time. You can start that way so you could see if it's something that you're truly interested in before fully committing to a leadership role.
Thank you so much, Laura. Nicole, what are your thoughts?
As a student, just be a member. Come to the meetings. Come talk to us. Let's get to know each other, because you don't have to be a part of the board to really learn about Alpha and grow professionally. Just showing up, learning, and being there and being present is more than enough. Once you want to take on the leadership role, that's incredible. You can, for at least Alpha BU, you can start off as an intern and grow into becoming an officer, or start off directly as an officer. It's a matter of how much responsibility you would like and how much you want to take on firsthand. But I mean, as I myself just started as a member the first time that I knew Alpha, and I grew to become president. It doesn't have to be one and done. It can be a slow growth.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for that. And Mario, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I would say even from an Alpha perspective, we want people to demonstrate some type of commitment prior to moving immediately into a leadership role. So even if it's joining as a member and coming to events, that just kind of demonstrates, okay, this person does have the time, the ability to come to events. They can try to have coffee with one of the board members. Let's have coffee. Let's meet for lunch. Let's do something, right? And they can learn more, showing that they're curious about it. All demonstrates that they have potential to do a really good job in a leadership role, because they're going to be committed to it, and I don't have to worry about that person and whether they're going to fulfill the commitments that they're volunteering for, because we as a board rely on the people that raise their hand to fill those roles, right? So demonstrating a little bit before moving into the leadership role is also important from the other side to see that. And then once you're ready, so it's hopefully a mutual thing, right? It's like, hey, this person's been on top of it. This person, I'd love to be in this role. I think they'd be a really great fit. And that person's interested in the role, the opportunity to give back and be part of something. So I'd say those are part of it.
Thank you so much, Mario. And going back to the chat, we have a question for you, Laura. What were some of the professional benefits you gained from attending the Alpha National Conventions?
Yeah, definitely. I think the workshops that I attended, I don't remember all of them right now, but I think the workshops were great. But I think even more importantly, the amount of networking that I was able to do with the senior leaders from my own company who were in attendance was something that I don't know where exactly I would have gotten that without Alpha Convention, because it was outside of work. So we were able to have like a more personal conversation, and just having them know my name, like with senior leaders. Like I always think of Roxanne Martinez, who's a big Alpha member. She was a part of Liberty, and I got to know her like through Alpha Convention, and that was a completely. I have her in multiple panels now for my Women of Alpha, so she's someone that I can rely on, and I don't know that I would have had that without convention. So just like the amount of networking and workshops that are available through convention, it was really the most impact.
Perfect. We have a question from Audrey. For board experience outside of Alpha, what suggestions would you have for finding your way into a first board role?
So I would say that a lot of boards out there have kind of junior boards. So sometimes you can join that as one of your earlier board positions, and those are intended for people that are younger, are young professionals, and want to give back to an organization. And that's really the way to a more senior board in that organization. So if you're looking at a larger organization, they likely have a junior board that they start off where there might be younger professionals in that case. So other ways, it's just volunteering, right? Just saying, hey, I'm not ready for a board position, but can I be of help? Can I be at the table when you have an event, checking people in? Can I, when you go do Habitat for Humanity, I'm just going to sign up to go with your organization. So just different ways to be present at their events, to volunteer with them, to just volunteer your time. And so even if you're not a board member, there are ways in which that board, someone on the board could probably tell you, this is where we could use help. So you can just reach out to a board member and ask them for ways within their own organization how you could be helpful, and they probably have the best insight into that organization. If they're not Alpha, then you can reach out to someone on that board to find out.
Yeah, and I think too, Mario, just like finding the right board makes a big difference, because prior to joining Alpha, I had joined a different board that was not at all what I was expecting, and I had to get out of there. So I think just like finding things that you are passionate about and seeing like what organizations there are out there that are supporting that cause. Mm-hmm. And then, as Mario mentioned, like attending the events and then just trying to connect with someone so that you can learn more to see if it's something that you're interested in is probably a good first step.
Thank you, Laura. Any more comments? If not, we can jump into, I think, like our last question before we wrap it up. And I think it kind of like resonates with what you just said, Laura. What are maybe some of the challenges that you might face when, joining a board or being part of a board?
I think just like going back to that question, is like, how do you balance your schedule? I feel like in the beginning, you could be like, you want to do all the things and you have to be realistic about it. So finding the balance when you first start to make sure that you are not burning out within that first 3 months or that first quarter when you join the board is extremely important.
Thank you for that. And let's see, exit strategies when on a board that does not turn out to be what you expected. If anyone wants to jump in, that'd be great.
I think just be open about it. I think when I had my experience that I had read what the organization was about and I was all for it. And when I actually got into that first meeting and I realized exactly what the role was, it did not align at all with what it was that I thought I would be doing. And I just said after the meeting, I had a conversation with the person and let them know that I didn't think was going to be a good fit. And they actually said that they had connections at Alpha, so they were supporting me there. So I think just being open and let them know, like don't ghost, I guess. the organizations, because I have seen people do that. So just have a conversation. We're all adults. We'll be understanding.
Yes.
I would also add that once you notify them, also try to keep in contact with the people there, because that's just going to become part of your network. And you'll never know when you're going to need a next opportunity or some advice. And so by ghosting them, you automatically just ruin that connection. But being truthful and being honest, saying, hey, this is not for me, but let's find a way where we can collaborate or talk at another time about something else. It could benefit you in the future, and you may not even know it. So just maintain that connection, because those do help in the long run.
Thank you for that, Nicole. And Mario, do you want to add something to it as well?
No, the best part, don't ghost them. It contributes to your reputation, right? Even if you bow out respectfully, that's appreciated. If you ghost them, that's not appreciated, and that goes against you in a big way.
So, anything anyone would like to add to wrap things up? Let me know.
I would say, as a student, don't be afraid to join a board, because for me, it's done wonders. Not even if maybe it's not Alpha, but hopefully it's Alpha. You will grow a lot as a student, because that's all you need to do is just understand that there's so many benefits, not only for your professional, but also your personal growth. And you really learn a lot on the job, from leadership, responsibility, to making mistakes and getting out of those mistakes and how to move forward. So don't be afraid, and always reach out. I'll leave my LinkedIn and my email if anyone needs to contact me.
I would also say you're never too young to join a board. There's always something you can contribute. I feel like for me, I waited until I was like more seasoned professionally, but I wish I would have joined earlier, because just the network and support that I have found through my work with Alpha has been really important for me, and it has really shaped me in a way that I didn't think was possible. So I would say you're never too young. Don't wait. Just jump into it, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say definitely, if you're a student, you want to have some board experience to help you differentiate yourself. And even if it's not, you don't have to be president, right? You can carve out something that's more manageable for you, right? You might be working through school and just unrealistic to take on a really senior position, but something will and do it well, right? Volunteer for something and then just do it well, even if it takes an hour of your week. Spend that hour and do it really well, and that alone, that by itself will help cement your reputation as someone that's a contributor, as opposed to committing to 5 hours and really giving it 1 to 3 when people are relying on you. So really just try to get involved where you can, as small as it can, and do it really well. As a student, that's really important to see that on your resume. As a person that tries to do a lot of hiring and reviewing resumes, always looking for that. Alpha goes to the top of the pile, of course. But I definitely need to see some of that, or I need to understand why that may not have been possible. And it's overall just good experience. It's a good experience learning how to work with people, other people in a team setting. You're not going to click with every personality, and you're going to have to work through that again for a mission. And if you can accomplish that and do it well and have an impact on other people's lives, that's what it's about, right? And if you can overcome those other challenges that come with volunteering your time and working with other people and working towards a single goal, it's really valuable to yourself in terms of how you grow and develop, but also to those around you. So I definitely encourage getting involved in a board.
Thank you so much, Mario. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Laura. Before we take it away with our last session, we want to thank our speakers for being here with us. Thank you, Nicole, and congratulations in your upcoming internship with BlackRock as a finance summer analyst, and good luck as president of the BU chapter next school year. Mario, congratulations on your new role as brand manager, and best of luck adjusting to your new life in Denver, Colorado with your wife and 2 daughters. And last but not least, Thank you, Laura, for the amazing work you're doing with Women of Alpha, and we cannot wait to see what you have in store for us. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all for joining us, and I think Laura Kabila will be here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. You can see my dog in the background there just saying hi. This was a phenomenal panel. I'm excited to take a few minutes, everybody, to have some time in the lounge, maybe do a bio break, and meet me back here at 7:20 p.m. And we'll launch our next session. See you all in a bit.
Perfect. Thank you.